This show is presented by the 323 Network. You can watch all your favorite 323 friends and shows on the 323 Network YouTube channel, follow us on all social media platforms at 323read, and support us as we continue to grow at patreon.com/323read. That's 323REID. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 323. I am your host, Reed Murphy.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Look at the show. I'm the captain.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Fuck Scott.
Good morning, college football world, and welcome back to College Shame Day presented by the 323 Network. I am your host, Scott Ellia, and I am riding solo again this week. I guess Reed just can't keep up with all the craziness that's been happening over the last couple of weeks between college football and the NFL, but no worries, folks. You're in good hands with me. Boy, what a wild week 3 in college football. We're already off to a wild start for week 4. South Alabama completely trouncing App State 48-14. Stanford and Syracuse are currently at halftime 13-10. Marquee matchup, number 24 Illinois and number 22 Nebraska tied 10-10. Looks like that's going into the half as well. Boy, oh boy, what a week indeed. Like I said, let's start you off with a little bit of a recap from last week. First and foremost, game of the week. Number 6 Missouri defeating number 24 Boston College at home 27-21. Some key players to note from that game. For instance, Missouri quarterback Brady Cook, 264 yards passing, pair of touchdowns, one on the ground, one through the air. Speaking about the ground, Missouri running back Nate Noel, 121 yards rushing as well. The not so much a surprise quarterback, but definitely one that has climbed up the ranks within the ACC as one of the top quarterbacks in the conference, Thomas Castellanos. 249 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he had a pair of interceptions, but hey, when you're going up against a powerhouse like Missouri, an SEC team that should be vying for a spot in that SEC championship game this year, there's no surprise that there's some kind of turnovers. Jumping back over to Missouri wide receiver Luther Burton III, 6 catches, 117 yards, 1 touchdown. That is a talent that I am very excited to see translate into the NFL. Maybe next year. Who knows? We can't forget about the kicker. We can't. Blake Craig, kudos to you. Missouri kicker, 4 field goals, including a 56-yarder. What a wild, wild finish. Missouri trailed 14-3 in the second quarter and then took the lead 70-4 by halftime. Missouri's defense, they did their job. They held Boston College to 49 yards rushing total, including a negative 3 yards rushing in the second half. I mean, this is a Boston College team that is not afraid to attack on the ground. So for Missouri's defense to hold them to very minimal yardage is a feather in the cap there in Missouri. A couple moments that happened throughout the game that I found were of note. Brady Cook got 6-yard rushing touchdown, extending that lead to 24-14 in the third quarter. Not to mention Thomas Castellanos, a 67-yard dot coming off of a fumble snap recovery. That was insane to watch. But it looks like Luther Burton, he might be a little frustrated over the lack of primetime TV coverage despite being in a ranked matchup. That was the least of his worries, though, because Missouri, they accounted for 8 penalties for a total of 78 yards, including a couple personal fouls, a couple unsportsmanlike conducts, and you can't do that in a close game. I know Coach Eli Drinkowitz, he commented after the game acknowledging that there needs to be a better discipline, criticized Burton's selfish football after receiving multiple penalties in quick succession. You can't shoot your own team in the foot like that. Both teams are still slated to still be fairly competitive in their respective conferences. Boston College, they have Michigan State at home next. Coming up this week, week 4, as well as Missouri, they'll open up SEC play against Vanderbilt. Nick Saban came out recently and said of all the SEC teams that you should not be afraid of playing at on the road against. It's Vanderbilt. SEC teams fan bases usually travel really well, and Vanderbilt's is not crazy territory to go into and play, not hostile at all. So I was very taken aback that Nick Saban actually spoke out against any SEC team at this point. Rolling into another recap before we get into this week's news and notes. Wheel of Degenerate, folks, I am sorry from the bottom of my heart. I did it again. I shot for the stars, and we missed, and the fates tested. They won. They won again this week because we got a big old goose egg. We missed on Wisconsin, giving them the plus 16.5 points. They lost to Alabama 42-10. Also missed on Tulane with the plus 13.5. They lost to Oklahoma 34-19. We did hit, though. We had one little bright spot there. We gave the 17.5 points to Utah State. They did end up losing to Utah 38-21, though. And then, of course, rounding it out, missed on Ball State plus 36.5. Got completely trounced by Miami 62-0. And then Georgia. What the hell was going on with that? I told you, folks. Georgia should have been on upset alert. They barely squeaked out of a win over Kentucky 13-12. But, of course, we took the minus 22.5. I thought maybe they could surprise me with a lot wider of a margin victory, but I guess I should have gone with my gut. Oh, well. It is what it is. But a couple news articles to kind of go over with you folks that I found to be very, very intriguing for not only the future of football in general, but also the landscape of college football here in the near future. The NCAA, they recently approved special helmets for Gallaudet University. For those who don't know, Gallaudet University has a deaf and hard of hearing football team. And the NCAA approved the usage of these special helmets for the rest of the 2024 season. What they had done was they, in partnership with AT&T, they developed a display screen that the quarterbacks can use on the inside of their helmet using 5G technology, which I feel is probably going to revolutionize football as we know it. I mean, we already saw how big having in-helmet communications works, getting calls called in from the sideline to either the quarterback or whomever is donned with that green dot on the defensive side of the ball. So this just looks like the next natural progression. So maybe getting rid of the whole auditory side of it and having the visual component in there as well. The helmet did debut last year, though, in a one game under a special waiver from the NCAA. Gallaudet coach Chuck Goldstein says the goal is to level the playing field, but the technology is still being tested, so there's still a long ways to go, but I'm really hopeful for the future. Of course, the team couldn't use the helmet in their first two games this season due to quarterback injuries and custom fitting needs, with it still being a testing market. You can't just have it with anybody. But they do hope to use it in their next game on September 28th against George Mason University. AT&T and Gallaudet see the helmet as a step forward. I also see it as a step forward. I would love to hear from you folks on how you feel this new technology could plan out for the future of football. Speaking about future, Wake Forest, they decided to opt out with Ole Miss on their home and home series after they got completely just trounced by Ole Miss this year. They've instead pivoted to having a new series with Oregon State, a home and home series with them. Wake Forest will travel to Oregon State in 2025. Oregon State will travel to Winston-Salem, where Wake Forest plays in 2029. Of course, like I said, Wake Forest canceled the scheduled 2025 road trip to Ole Miss, which generated a little bit of criticism from Ole Miss's head coach Lane Kiffin. Like I mentioned, Ole Miss defeated Wake Forest 40-6 on the road there in Wake Forest. Kiffin expresses frustration citing an unwritten rule about canceling games, which he's not wrong. I mean, you made this contract, you knew what you're going to get into, and just because you lost and lost handedly, you shouldn't just go and take your ball and go home. You know, you made the agreement, see it through. Whatever happens, happens. There is some financial consideration tied into this as well. You know, the series with Oregon State is a little bit more financially beneficial for Wake Forest. The Beavers need to fill in the scheduling gap anyways, with the Pac-12 falling apart and kind of their future uncertain as far as their scheduling goes for the next couple of years. The athletic director from Wake Forest, John Curry, he did make a statement that the decision was based on financial pressures and they needed to grow resources for student athletes. I call boo-boo on you, John. You're just scared. didn't want to be showed up by the SEC again. But hey, oh well, take your ball. Ole Miss suggested that Wake Forest would pay a $1 million buyout, while Wake Forest said the figure was inflated and they honored the original contract terms from 2014. No, if you want to get out, pay up, or honor the contract. Speaking of paying up and honoring contracts, new recent development with the ACC, Clemson, and Florida State reopening some revenue talks. Proposal for revenue distribution with Clemson and Florida State have proposed a new revenue model for the ACC, allotting for a greater share of revenue based on brand value and television ratings. Yes, you can say that Florida State, especially starting 0-3 this year, they shouldn't have a leg to stand on, but in all intents and purposes, the marquee institutions in the ACC, especially when it comes to college football, yeah, you can make an argument for Miami, even though they haven't been relevant until this year, since 2001, but it's been Clemson and Florida State. I mean, when you have two powerhouse blue chip college football programs like that, they're going to lead the charge with television ratings and value. So it just makes a lot more sense for them to get that greater share of the revenue. Also, with this, the big talk is with the grant of rights, and it looks like they might be looking into an alteration. The proposal could be adjusted. The grant of rights, which, binds schools media rights to the conference until 2036 as it currently stands now. But this alteration could potentially reduce that year mark from 2036 to 2030. So, hey, instead of 12 years, it's 6 years. I think you can stick it out for another 6 years. I think we all are in agreement that the college football world is going to look completely different in 6 years anyway. So, hey, whatever it is at that point, just roll with it. Win-win situation. Now, there are current lawsuits. Both schools have filed lawsuits to break free from the current grant of rights, and the ACC has countersued that claim. The legal cases are both ongoing, and mediation has revived the discussions about changing revenue splits. So there's a little bit of hope on the horizon. Of course, talks are still in the early stages. There is no agreement in sight, but the discussions indicate that Florida State and Clemson may be open to remaining in the ACC under more favorable financial terms. And that's something that you see all too well in anything. Not even just in college football or sports, anything around the world. Money talks. So if they're going to end up making a little bit more money just to be able to stay, they'll probably end up staying. Now, there are some mixed kind of reactions from the schools. Some administrators are open to the idea of altering the revenue split. Others are a little bit more concerned about evaluating the TV ratings due to outside influences like kickoff times and networks and where the games are going to be played and things of that nature. But everyone's going to have their own little opinions. As it stands now, the ACC revenue gap, the ACC distributes an average of about $44.8 million per school for the 2022-2023 season. The gap between the ACC and the SEC revenue is projected to grow significantly with the SEC's new TV deal. I don't want to give them any more light than they have at this point. As far as Florida State's concerned, Athletic Director Mike Alford, did suggest a little bit of a warning and warned of the revenue gap being a serious threat and push for unequal revenue distribution based on field success and ratings. The ACC is in talks with ESPN, which has the option to extend the league's TV contract from 2027 through 2036. And ESPN must decide this by February of 2025. So still a lot of time to go between then and there. Now, as far as the ACC commissioner, John Phillips, is concerned, he still remains optimistic, saying that he is open to all options that would secure the league's future. Now, I think this would be good for everyone kind of involved. Like I said, between now and 2030, things are going to shake up as far as the college football landscape goes. You're keeping two marquee institutions in-house. You're making them happy by giving them a little bit more money that they deserve. And you're hoping that ESPN is going to throw in some more money in there as well, getting some more favorable, kickoff times being tied to them. But something that I found interesting, since we want to talk about money, was Tennessee. I don't know if you folks saw this, but Tennessee is now thinking about, or they'll be introducing a new 10% talent fee on tickets across all sports starting in 2025 to help fund athlete compensation as part of the new NCAA revenue sharing plan. Football tickets are increasing an additional 4.5%, will be applied to all football tickets, including season and single game purchases. This comes alongside donations required for seating. Cool. I guess they've reached the bottom of the pockets for all the boosters and all the sponsors for Tennessee, and now they're trying to squeeze every penny they possibly can out of the Tennessee Volunteer hopeful or faithful. I mean, 10% is 10%, but hey, when tickets are already sky high and cost to travel and house at the nearby the stadium if you're from out of town, and concessions and everything kind of goes along with it, extra 10% goes a long way. Like I mentioned, scheduled to begin in 2025, the plan will allow schools to share up to $22 million of annual revenue with athletes, a part of the settlement in the House versus NCAA case. Danny White, Tennessee's athletic director, emphasized the importance of securing resources for continued success in this new NIL era. I get it. You're going to have to find every single penny. I feel like this is just a, you're at the tail end of a bi-weekly paycheck. You need some money. You're scrounging around in the house. You're looking through couch cushions for every little quarter that you can find. This is the vibe that it's giving me. But hey, those pennies do end up turning into dollars. So hopefully that'll help out a little bit further down the road. Now, there has been some success financially with their athletic department. In 2023, Tennessee football turned a $75 million profit, and the university led the SEC in home attendance with the average of 101,000 fans per game. I mean, let's just do the math on that real quick. 10% for every single one of those tickets per game. Insane, astronomical. And the Tennessee Fund has also raised a record $139 million in 2023, 2024 as well. I mean, this goes to show Tennessee's, they've experienced widespread athletic success, not just in football, but basketball, both men's and women's, baseball, winning national and conference championships across multiple sports. So if there is a beacon of hope or a blueprint for any of these college programs and schools to figure out how to make a little bit more money, look to Tennessee, because obviously they're doing something right there. Now, another important thing to remember is with football scholarships increasing from 85 to 105, Tennessee still will need around $30 million to cover both athlete compensation and scholarship costs. So it makes sense why they're going to kind of tack on that extra 10% there. Thankfully, Tennessee does aim to be a little bit more transparent about the reason for the ticket price increases, offering fans options to spread payments over 10 months, especially for those season ticket packages that can be very, very costly. But the more money you make means the more money you're going to be spending, because Danny White is now the highest paid public university athletic director, earning $2.75 million annually, with incentives adding up to $600,000. Not to mention baseball coach Tony Vitello. He has become the highest paid college baseball coach, earning $3 million annually. But hey, got to pay to play. And if you want the best, you're going to have to pay to get the best. So do what you got to do. And everyone else, you better get in line, because Tennessee doesn't look like they're slowing down, cashing in at this point. Folks, the Shameful Eight, it is back. It is back and in full force. I know we've been teasing it for the last couple weeks. I was hoping that I was going to be able to roll this out for the first week of the college football season with Reed Murphy himself of the 323 Network. Go over and find him on all the socials at 323Reed on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you can find him, and tell him, what the fuck, Reed? Where were you at? We want to know what you're thinking for these top 8 in college football, according to Scott. Boy, oh boy, I've done it. I've finally held off. I told you guys week 4, week 5, and I decided to give it to you guys a little bit earlier this year with week 4. Now, the AP top 8, it's a little chalk. For those who don't know, Texas comes in at number 1, followed by Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Missouri, and Miami. Well, let's find out just how close Scott is thinking with the AP for this top 8. Starting at number 8, this is where the first one's going to be mixing up. At number 8, I have the Utah Utes. That's right, folks, Utah. Key wins 38-21 road win versus Utah State and solid win over Baylor. You know, they've had a decent strength of schedule, solid wins, but not as dominant as the others that we're going to list here in the Shameful 8. Coming at number 7, this might become a shock to everybody, especially you, Reed Murphy. Miami, the Miami Hurricanes, we have them coming in at number 7. Key wins, 41-17 road win versus Florida. They've been dominant in home wins. Let's be honest. As impressive as a road win that is over a Power 5 opponent, Florida is not Florida this year at all. The rest of their schedule looks toilet paper soft with how the ACC has been playing out this beginning of this season. So I don't want to give them too much credit to what they're doing. A team that I will give some credit here at number 6, the Tennessee Volunteers. We just spoke about them with all the money that they're raking in up there. A couple key wins for them. The absolute thrashing of number 24 NC State, 51-10. Also including some blowouts versus Chattanooga and Kent State. You know, they've been absolutely dominant at home, but they really have no road games yet. And the rest of the opponents outside that NC State game have been fairly weak. This is where the biggest surprise is going to be happening. Cracking the top 5 in college football. Give me Kansas State. That's right, Kansas State. Convincing win, 31-7 over number 20 Arizona. Very scary Arizona team. Don't sleep on them at home. And a solid road win against Tulane. I mean, there's not much more you can ask for. Quality win versus a ranked team. They got a very balanced offensive defense. I'm very excited to see what they have there in Kansas State for the rest of the season. I'll be watching them fairly closely, especially with a Big 12 that's wide open. And then the rest of this, it can kind of go as you may think. It's going to be very SEC top heavy. Coming at number 4, Ole Miss. Dominant win over Wake Forest, like we mentioned earlier on in the show, 40-6 on the road in Wake Forest. Huge margins of victory at home. Like I said, that impressive road win and blowouts. Though the competition hasn't been as high as the others in the top 3, they still deserve a top spot here in the Shameful 8. Coming in at number 3, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Man. And I was hoping that this was going to be the year that they would have an off year. They'd be out of the whole top 10 discussion, let alone the top 3 discussion. But I mean, when you travel on the road to Wisconsin, you completely just obliterate them 42-10, and you've blown out Western Kentucky and South Florida at home. I mean, those are some quality, consistent, large margin victories. And I'll give you the pat on the back, Alabama. You proved me wrong. But hey, it's still very early on in the season. Anything could happen, especially in the SEC. Coming in at number 2, the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm knocking them down one, just like the AP did. Georgia, they had a very key win, 34-3, blowout of number 14 Clemson at home. They did squeak away with the win on the road against Kentucky, 13-12. They've had strong defensive performances against ranked teams. They've had a competitive road win. But you got to show me some more. You got to show me more if you want to get that top spot, which leaves me here at the number 1 spot of the Shameful 8, and that is the Texas Longhorns. And what better team to roll out the Shameful 8 with this beautiful, wild Western music than Texas themselves? Most recently dominated Michigan, that was ranked number 10 on the road, 31-12, also including a shutout of Colorado State, 52-0. They have had a significant win over a highly ranked opponent on the road, huge margins in all the games. So congratulations to Texas being the first Shameful 8 number 1 of the year. A couple that I'll give you guys that could sneak into the top 10 conversation. I mean, Oklahoma State had a great road win against Tulsa, 45-10, solid win against Arkansas. Missouri, we talked about them earlier on with the game of the week from last week over number 24 Boston College, 27-21. Solid home victories. Like I said, they're in the hyper-competitive SEC, so they're going to have to make sure they win out if they want a chance to stay relevant in college football this season. Let's get out of the SEC for a second. Let's just get out of here. Oregon. The Oregon Ducks, 49-14 road win versus Oregon State. Close games at home against some weaker teams. I mean, that was a great rivalry win on the road, but I mean, when you're at home and you're squeaking away with these slim margins, it is what it is. Oh, and if you're keeping track at home with all these teams that we're mentioning, Ohio State Buckeyes. The Ohio State Buckeyes can go fuck the off. You are 2-0. Yes, you have handed the two teams that you've played, Akron and Western Michigan, a complete ass whooping. 52-6, 56-0. But you're playing at home against subpar talent. You're doing what you're supposed to do. And if you are a regular listener of the show, you know I do not like giving out participation rewards for doing what you got to do, what you should be doing. So Ohio State, you need to show me a little bit more. You have a very, very tough schedule coming up down the road. I mean, they haven't even gotten to think of it. Later on the season, they're on the road against Oregon, at home against Nebraska, on the road against Penn State, and then they close out the season against Michigan at home. So maybe they can get back in there. Maybe. Probably not. But fuck them. Oh boy, folks. Yeah, that is the Shameful 8 presented by College Shame Day of the 323 Network. I am your host, Scott Ellia, and if you are enjoying all of these great discussions, make sure to always check us out over on the official Instagram of College Shame Day at 323 College Shame Day there. Before we get into the funnest part of College Shame Day, a couple players to watch as far as my Heisman Watch goes. I mean, nothing really too shaken up here. Some of these players we've talked about in recent weeks. One player on this list we're adding in here for the first time and might not be the last time because he seems to be the little darling of college football. So let's just start off with number 5 in Heisman Watch, Colorado wide receiver and cornerback dual threat Travis Hunter. I'll give him his roses this week. I guess I'll put some Colorado coverage in here. Last week against Colorado State, 13 receptions, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then on defense, 5 total tackles and a crucial interception. So on the year, 30 receptions for 340 yards, 5 touchdowns, 11 total tackles, and a pick. So good job there, Mr. Hunter. I'm really hoping that Dion does the right thing and tries to slow down the workload on this poor man. Because if he has the hopes and aspirations to one day play in the NFL, he needs to take care of his body. So week to week at this point. Coming at number 4, Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. Last week like we mentioned earlier, at Wisconsin. Very quiet stat line. 12 of 17, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns. No picks. So he had a clean sheet. On the year, 35 of 52, 590 yards, 8 touchdowns, and still no interceptions this year. So congratulations to you, Jalen Milroe. Coming at number 3, we're going to shake it up. Got a quarterback this time at number 3. Boise State running back Ashon Jeanty. Last week he had a bye week, but on the year, 45 carries for 450 yards, 9 touchdowns, and we're this early on in the season. I am very excited to see what Ashton is going to be able to do as far as production goes. I think any NFL team will take that kind of production this early in the season every day of the week. Coming at number 2 on my Heisman Watch, Miami quarterback Cam Ward. Last week against Ball State, 19-28, 340 yards, 5 touchdowns. But you did what you were supposed to do. It was Ball State, and you're playing at home. So congrats, Cam. 65-89 on the year, 1,000 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick. So he doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. And another person that's not slowing down soon, coming at number 1, and who I feel is going to start slowly separating from the rest of the pack, Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. Last week against Wake Forest, 26-34, 370 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and a pick. So on the year, 73 of 88, 1,100 yards passing, 8 touchdowns and an interception on the year. I'm very excited to see what's going to be going on there with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. I think they can get Jackson Dart over the hump and kind of start making a little bit of separation from the rest of these quarterbacks and the rest of the field with their schedule coming up. Speaking about schedule coming up, now we're getting into the funnest part of the show, Game of the Week, presented by College Shame Day. College Game Day, they are going to, who gives a fuck? I don't even remember, but we're not going there. That's right, Reed himself said, Scott, this week, 1 week only, I'm going to buy you a first-class ticket to whatever game you want to go to. Any game you want to go to. And where else better than going to the number 12 Utah Utes traveling to Oklahoma State, who are ranked number 14. Oklahoma State is favored by 1.5 points. This looks to be a very, very, very competitive matchup. Now, Utah does lead the series 1-0. But there's a lot at stake. I mean, the winner becomes an early favorite to reach the Big 12 championship game. Utah's playing in their very first Big 12 game after leaving the Pac-12, but you can't sleep on Oklahoma State. They're returning 21 of 22 starters from a team that has played in 2 of the last 3 conference championship games, so they have their work cut out for them on the road. Key matchup to look out for is Ollie Gordon, the Oklahoma State running back against Utah's interior defense. Gordon last year's Doak Walker Award winner. He has struggled with just 90 yards in the last 2 games. He's only averaging about 2.5 a carry. Utah's defense is focusing on stopping him and trying to isolate him, led by Coach Kyle Whittingham's emphasis on gang tackling. So if they can try to establish the run early, get Ollie Gordon moving, that should help a lot. But if for whatever reason, if Utah is holding him to that 2.5 yards per carry, I guess are airing it out down there in Oklahoma State. That means you, Alan Bowman, quarterback of Oklahoma State. He was coming off a 5-touchdown game. He was named the Walter Camp Player of the Week last week. He has thrown for almost 1,000 yards a season, and he is just exploiting defenses who are focusing on Gordon, like it looks the Utah is going to be doing. On the other side of the field, quarterback Cam Rising of Utah. He is expected to return from injury, but the 25-year-old missed last season with a knee injury and is set to lead this offense this week. I'm very excited to see what he's going to be doing. Notable transfer there to Utah. A couple fun facts for you for the game. Utah's Kyle Whittingham and Oklahoma State's Mike Gundy are both in their 20th season coaching. Congratulations. Sustained success. That's the word I'm looking for. Also, sustained success. Cam Rising and Alan Bowman are both in their 7th year of eligibility. I believe they're both 25, 26. They both look like swashbuckling pirates and have overstayed their welcome in college football. So this is hopefully their last season playing. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, they will be honoring former Oklahoma State quarterback Brandon Weeden, who also played into damn near his early 30s. He'll be inducted into the Cowboys Hall of Honor this weekend, so congratulations to Brandon Weeden. But not congratulations to FAU at UConn. They are this week's Lame of the Week. They're playing at 7 o'clock, so thank goodness. There will be plenty of other things for everybody to be doing that late in the day. Oh, boy. Man. Whew. What a week. And it's still not over. Bring up the wheel. Bring it up. That's right, folks. It is time for Wheel of Degenerate, where we add it. We spin the wheel 5 times. Trust the fates. Make that 5-pick parlay for you. We will not, like I've mentioned to you guys every single week, we do not give you the picks here on the show. The only place that you can find that is at 323 College Shame Day on Instagram. It will be posted before the 1 o'clock slate games every Saturday for you. So while you're listening to the show, make sure you're refreshing that page, waiting for that parlay to come down. I will say, don't trust me with your money, but trust me with your money. You're going to want to get in on this week because I got a feeling that Scott's going to be hitting it big. Oh boy. But yeah, let's give it a spin. A couple teams that we will not be including this week, like I mentioned, is the number 24 Fighting Illini at number 22 Nebraska. They are playing as we speak right this very second. But the first game of the Wheel of Degenerates, Michigan. Both teams have been surprises for different reasons. I mean, USC, they've kind of maintained some success from last year. Michigan's still kind of trying to find their way, but I mean, they'll be in friendly territory with USC coming into town. Second pick of the College Shame Day betting slip is the oh god. This is the team that I think might be coming out and surprising everybody in that group of 5. Buffalo at number 23, Northern Illinois. Like we mentioned last week, that upset victory, Northern Illinois handing Notre Dame, was an absolutely amazing thing to watch. I loved it. Fuck all the Notre Dame faithful because they are one of the most annoying faces in all of college football. And look at this. Look at this. Number 3 on the betting slip of the Wheel of Degenerate is College Shame Day's Game of the Week. The number 12 Utah traveling number 14 Oklahoma State. So I guess we have a little bit more to ride on that game. Coming in at number 4 this week. Ooh, see, this is a game that I wanted to get some insight from Reed Murphy himself, and that is Marshall traveling to number 3, not Shameful 8 number 3, AP number 3, Ohio State. Marshall head coach came out saying that they would love to have some of these Ohio State kids transfer and come on down, even expressed his desire to have them sponsored by a very renowned biscuit company down there in Marshall. So that was always a fun thing to watch. And rounding it out, the 5th and final pick of the Wheel of Degenerate betting slip this week, Georgia Tech traveling to number 19 Louisville. That rounds it out, folks. Let's recap that really fast. Like I mentioned, opening it up, number 11 USC at 18 Michigan, Georgia Tech at 19 Louisville, Buffalo traveling to number 23 Northern Illinois, Marshall traveling to number 3 Ohio State, and not only game of the week here, College Shame Day, but part of the Wheel of Degenerate betting slip, number 12 Utah at number 14 Oklahoma State. Boy, oh boy, this looks like it's going to be a doozy this week, folks, and I can't be more excited. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to the 323 Network podcast. We appreciate your support and passion for college football. Please stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, not only at 323 College Shame Day, but also at 323 Reed. Let Reed know how much that you missed him this week, because I missed him from the bottom of my heart. Also, if you want to take a gander at the production value of the Wheel of Degenerate, there's only one place that you can find that, and that is on YouTube at the 323 Network. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit that bell, catch our latest episodes wherever podcasts can be found. Until next time, wait a second, hold up. We can't close it out just yet, because I think everyone's forgotten. We still got that monthly giveaway going on. That's right, monthly giveaway presented by College Shame Day is giving you a chance to win a $25 gift card to Fanatics. Grab your own favorite game day gear, brand spanking new, all from the goodness of our heart here at the 323 Network. Very easy way to enter to win. First, most importantly, give that Instagram a follow, College Shame Day. Also, important to remember, you will gain some extra entries based off likes, comments, shares, reposting. I don't know. Go on a comment, tell me how much you hate me. You won't be the first one, you won't be the last one, but hey, it gets you an extra entry into the monthly giveaway this week. Keep in mind, winners will be announced during the first show of every month. Don't miss your chance to gear up here at the 323 Network. Now I can say, folks, have a great rest of your Saturday morning. Until next time, embrace the shame, and thank you for listening to the 323 Network.